Tonight, the massacre at Virginia Tech. New details about the young gunman who killed 32 people. And an emotional campus service for the victims. We're learning more about them tonight as President Bush offers the nation's sympathy and prayers.
Massacre at Virginia Tech. This is a special edition of NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams, reporting tonight from Blacksburg, Virginia.
And good evening once again from Virginia Tech. In many ways, this patch of land here located in a notch in the Blue Ridge Mountains was the center of this nation's attention again today. And if it's true that trauma plays out in stages, this day after the campus massacre saw a change in this campus among members of this community of 26,000 people who have suffered a staggering and massive loss. While we know more about the gunman, many here are still anxious for information on the victims. Not all of the survivors, remember, know yet if their friends made it out. And on this day, too, the gravity of it all started to sink in. This was the day when shock gave way to sadness. The mourning on this campus started today as the Virginia Tech community came together in the university's basketball arena to honor and remember the 32 victims of the deadliest shooting in American history.
We will eventually recover, but we will never, ever forget.
President Bush expressed the condolences of the entire nation.
On this terrible day of mourning, it's hard to imagine that a time will come when life at Virginia Tech will return to normal, but such a day will come. And when it does, you will always remember the friends and teachers who were lost yesterday, and the time you shared with them, and the lives that they hope to lead.
As flags fly tonight at half-staff, we are learning more about the victims and about the student from South Korea who's been identified as the gunman, where and when he got his weapons, and the possible reason behind this rampage. And just a day after the worst day of their lives, the people of Virginia Tech showed the world that the spirit of this place can't be broken and lives on. And it was that school cheer that really grabbed a hold of people's emotions, coming as it did at the end of today's ceremony. While that ceremony was going on, at that very moment, we were learning more about the gunman in this mass killing. Our Justice correspondent, Pete Williams, has been following that part of the investigation. He's with us once again from our Washington Bureau. Pete, good evening.
Brian, good evening to you. Investigators described Cho Sung-wi as a 23-year-old emotionally troubled loner who apparently did not have many friends. And looking back on it now, many who knew him are saying all the warning signs were there. Just over a month ago, federal investigators say, Cho Sung-wi walked into this gun shop in Roanoke, Virginia, about 40 miles from the Virginia Tech campus, and bought a 9mm pistol, a 50-round box of ammunition, and a 15-round magazine for loading the gun. It was that gun, investigators say tonight, that he used to fire many of his shots in the classroom building, where 31 people were killed, including himself. The gun shop owner told Dateline NBC today he paid for it with a credit card.
I feel such despair over what's happened. I couldn't have done anything any different. The law was followed.
He bought the other gun he had in the shootings, a .22 caliber Walther P22, a month earlier at a pawn shop in Blacksburg, Virginia. As a permanent legal resident, he was legally entitled to buy them. The man who authorities say committed the worst mass shooting in American history was born in South Korea, came to the U.S. with his parents to Detroit in 1992, and moved with them to Centerville, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. Neighbors say his parents were friendly and outgoing.
They were always polite, always kind to me, very quiet, always smiling, just sweet, sweet people.
But at Virginia Tech, teachers and investigators say Cho was a loner who didn't feel like he fit in. Classmates say he wrote short plays for a class about students who were angry at teachers and parents. A former teacher says he seemed depressed but refused to seek help on campus.
I was told you can't force someone to go to counseling. So even though I called counseling trying to get everyone to force him to go over, their hands were tied too.
Investigators say things he'd written found in his dorm room were full of anger, saying of his fellow students, quote, "You made me do this." Federal profilers who have examined his writings and his past say he is remarkably like the students who fired on their classmates at Columbine High School. They say Cho felt picked on and bullied, that he thought it was him against the world. Today, a former classmate who now works for the online service AOL says Cho did not want to be friends with anyone. This young man says that the students who knew Cho thought he was so interested in violence that they once even wondered whether he would someday be a school shooter, Brian.
Pete Williams. Pete, thanks for that update. And as we continue to review the various aspects of this story on day 2, now we turn to the serious questions that have been raised here on this campus about how authorities here at Virginia Tech handled the first shooting incident and whether a different response might have saved lives 2 hours later. That report from our senior investigative correspondent, Lisa Myers.
Why, after being notified of a shooting in this dormitory at 7:15 a.m., did Virginia Tech authorities wait more than 2 hours until 9:26 to alert students by email there had been a shooting and to be cautious?
The message should have gone out at least 5 minutes after knowing what had happened, and it should have said that there was a potential shooter on the loose. Classes were canceled.
At 9:45 came 9/11 calls about another shooting. This one at Norris Hall, an academic building that's a 10-minute walk across campus from the site of the first shooting. That triggered a second email to students and staff at 9:50. Please stay put. A gunman is loose on campus. By then, it was too late. Virginia Tech's president told Matt Lauer the 2-hour delay was caused by the need to gather facts.
We were at that point in time still getting information from witnesses. In fact, people were still being questioned at about 9:15.
The university also waited more than 2 hours until 9:23 a.m. to alert the state police about the first shooting. And according to state police officials, even then, university police did not ask for help.
Quite frankly, I think that the police made a very grave mistake.
Mike Sheehan, a former top New York police official and an NBC News analyst, calls both 2-hour delays inexplicable.
They had a gunman at large who had killed 2 people. He was armed and dangerous, and they should have ramped up the security significantly more than they did.
Others question why the campus wasn't closed off and buildings immediately secured.
Locking down, in retrospect, in hindsight, unfortunately, would be the right thing to do.
But could any of this have stopped a heavily armed gunman willing to die?
There was a much better chance of them preventing the second attack by having an aggressive, robust law enforcement presence throughout the campus.
Virginia Governor Kane said today there will be an independent investigation of the entire incident. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
And we should repeat the following for emphasis. While there are still students on this campus who don't know if their own classmates lived or died after yesterday's massacre, we are slowly learning the names of the victims of yesterday's shootings, and we're beginning to hear some of their personal stories. They include stories of heroism and sacrifice. NBC's Mike Taibbi reports tonight on what we know about some of those lives lost.
There were makeshift memorials, so many reminders that something had fundamentally changed. Students alone or in groups trying to confront all that had been taken from them in this place that seemed so safe. Some of the victims whose families have confirmed their deaths: 18-year-old Rima Samaha, only a freshman but already teaching dance and inspiring her students.
She was really good at belly dancing, and she was a really good teacher.
Anne, said her brother, eager for her future.
She had the whole world laid out in front of her, and she could do anything she wanted to do.
The first 2 victims, 19-year-old animal lover Emily Hilscher of Woodville, Virginia, who police say might have been a specific target of the killer, and 22-year-old Ryan Clark, everybody called him Stack, a residential assistant in the dorm, a member of the Marching Virginian School Band, and a native of Martinez, Georgia.
He was a fun-loving, outgoing individual, loved to be around people and loved to share his passion for music and education and other things with others.
It's a vast campus, 2,600 acres, 26,000 students. But every student we spoke to said he or she is feeling the loss personally. For the families of several victims, including 20-year-old Ross Lamadine of Saugus, Massachusetts, it simply took too long to confirm that the worst had happened, until nearly 11 at night, said his mother Lynette, more than 13 hours after the shootings.
It's horrifying. It's really horrifying. And I'm just trying to keep it together.
And it wasn't just the young who came under fire. In India, the family of engineering professor G.V. Loganathan, 51, was stunned.
They're all feeling terrible. We don't know how to manage things.
And in Romania, a terrible sadness over the death of 76-year-old mathematics professor Liviu Librescu. Relatives say students have emailed them saying the elderly Holocaust survivor blocked the classroom door against the gunfire with his own body, saving several lives before losing his own.
He had huge affection for his students, and he sacrificed his life for them.
In the coming days and weeks, the stories of all the victims will be known. 32 narratives of accomplishment and limitless hopes, gone in 2 bursts of gunfire from a single killer on a spring day now etched in memory and infamy. Mike Taibbi, NBC News, Blacksburg.
And we're back here at Virginia Tech, where we've been joined by a special guest. Pastor Tommy McDearris of the Blacksburg Baptist Church is with us tonight. He is one of the pastors who's been ministering to parents who lost a child in this tragedy. Thank you for being with us. More than that, you've been making some of the parental notifications, is that true?
The police departments have been, and they've had chaplains that's been assigned to each one of those, and so we've been making those notifications, yes.
I almost hate to ask the following question. What can that task be like for you?
It's the worst experience that I've had in the 30 years I've been in the ministry.
I imagine so. And how, is there any one way people are reacting to that?
Shock, disbelief, anger, pain, extreme grief.
And there's nothing in the world, I don't guess, in the pastoring business that would prepare you for this kind of mass loss, mass grieving, and people then come to you, of course, looking for help and solace. What have you been able to offer?
We've just been able to offer someone being there with them, making sure that they know that they're not alone, making sure that they know they're not going to be alone in the weeks that are ahead of them, making sure that they know that the community cares about them and that there's someone there to hold their hand through this.
Over 30 people lost in an instant, all of them leaving full, rich lives behind. For most of them, it's supposed to be the years of their lives. What have you learned about people in the 24 hours or so since you've had to go to work?
That overwhelmingly people are good, that they want to support each other during a tragedy like this, that they want to count. We've had so many people that have called and said we'll do anything that we can do to try to help here. We have one individual that's perpetrated this, and everyone else is stepping up to the plate to try to be all the help they can be.
And how should people think about that one individual?
We don't know anything about that individual yet. We don't know what caused this. We don't know why something like this would happen. We just simply know that he made choices that have destroyed the lives of so many, and it's going to be felt for years to come.
That's an understatement. Pastor, you're a nice man to join us. Thank you, and thanks for the work you've been doing here on campus.
Thank you very much.
A few program notes here as we continue. For some of you, we want to let you know this will be an hour-long special edition of NBC Nightly News. That depends on your local NBC station. NBC News also is doing an hour-long special report tonight, a special version of Dateline that begins at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That is just as the student-led candlelight vigil gets underway here on this campus tonight when the sun is down. For now, however, we'll fit in our first break. We'll be back with more from the campus of Virginia Tech in just a moment.
I feel great, really great, even with osteoporosis. And you know what? Deciding on a treatment with my doctor was almost easier than deciding what to wear tonight. To treat my osteoporosis, I take Boniva, 1 pill a month. Boniva helps me build strong, healthy bones to prevent fractures.
Unlike weekly treatments like Fosamax, you only need Boniva once a month.
So for me, Boniva was just a smart choice.
You should not take Boniva if you have low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for at least 60 minutes. Follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Boniva and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
Look, having strong, healthy bones is so important. I've got this one body and this one life, so I'm going to do my best to get it right. Talk to your doctor about Boniva. I'm glad I did.
Don't wait another week. Ask your doctor for a free trial offer or call 1-800-4-BONIVA. Once monthly Boniva.
If you suffer from allergies, more effective relief is on the way. Benadryl, proven more effective than the leading allergy medicine at relieving your worst allergy symptoms. Get Benadryl, proven more effective.
Go! Life with diabetes? It's about going for it. That's why my new Contour has all the stuff I need to get it done right in just 5 seconds.
The new Contour is the most complete meter yet, with results in just 5 seconds. So getting more just got easier. That's easy accuracy, answered by Bayer.
Beneful? Beneful? You're definitely thinking Beneful. With wholesome grains, real beef, even carrots and peas. You love the taste. I love the carbohydrates for energy and protein for muscles. You only think you're getting spoiled. Spoiled? And it's good for you too.
Real wholesome ingredients. 4 different ways. Healthful, flavorful, Beneful.
Dateline tonight at 8/7 Central. Massacre at Virginia Tech. As the story continues to unfold, Stone Phillips reports live from the university with up-to-the-minute details. Hear what victims and families have to say about the tragedy. Massacre at Virginia Tech. Dateline tonight, 8/7 Central on NBC.
We are back on this sad Tuesday night here at Virginia Tech. You saw the president visited here earlier today, and just before he departed campus, we were able to spend some time with President Bush and First Lady Laura Bush, and we talked about what happened here, also about dealing with this kind of loss. You have all too much experience in dealing with grieving families, going back to 9/11 and this nation's 2 wars. How is this different?
I think what makes this different is that a parent or a loved one thought their child was, learning to enrich their lives, and the next thing is they're dead. And it's just the shock and the suddenness and the location that makes this a very traumatic experience. Virginia Tech is a viable, strong community, and it's going to require this viable, strong community to help people recover.
You have 2 daughters who are now out of college.
Mm-hmm.
I have a daughter who's a freshman now. With that as context, what do we do about these guns?
Well, my attitude is, there's going to be plenty of time for debate and a political discussion and a policy discussion, and now's not the time. I'm more interested in helping people heal right now, and that's why we're here.
Mrs. Bush, Columbine had an incalculable effect on children the age of our daughters.
This will have a huge effect, too, and on little children. We really need to listen to their concerns and try to let them know that they're loved and that many people are working to make sure they're protected.
A portion of our conversation today with the President and Mrs. Bush, who led the grieving during their visit to this campus. Another break, we'll be back with a look at the big role the Internet has played in this crisis in helping students and families really stay in touch.
Want bigger, more beautiful potted plants? Miracle Grow makes it easy with moisture control potting mix. Watch. The soil is so amazing, it actually stores water, only releasing it when plants need it, taking the guesswork out of watering. Plus, there's Miracle Grow plant food mixed right in that feeds for 3 months. So plants grow twice as big. Easy and amazing. Want it big? Want it beautiful? Make it Miracle Grow.
Oh, what a perfect day. Oh no, nasal allergy congestion strikes again. It's everywhere, outside and in. Prescription Nasonex helps relieve congestion and other nasal allergy symptoms. Maybe that's why 6 million people used Nasonex last year.
Side effects were generally mild and included headache, viral infection, sore throat, nosebleeds, and coughing.
For congestion and other nasal allergy symptoms, ask your doctor about Nasonex.
Gus thinks it's his job to protect me from the world.
A love like this deserves new I Am Smallin' toy. It's concentrated nutrition with more protein, so little dogs have the energy to do what they love for life.
Your heart, you need to keep it vital. Introducing Bayer Nutritional Science Heart Vitality, uniting science and nutrition to help lower bad cholesterol and help maintain healthy blood pressure. New Bayer Nutritional Science Heart Vitality.
Hey, boss, do we have Aflac?
Nah, we have something else.
But if you're hurt and miss work, does it pay cash like Aflac does?
Nah.
Or let you spend it any way you want, like for gas and groceries?
Nah.
Or help with everyday bills like Aflac does?
Nah.
There's only one Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Are you like me? I have high blood pressure, and I have high cholesterol. Sometimes problems come in twos, but sometimes help can come in one. Catawit. Catawit contains the leading branded blood pressure medicine, Norvasc, and Lipitor, the leading branded cholesterol medicine combined in one pill, Catawit. Catawit is one of many treatment options I discussed with my doctor. Ask your doctor if Catawit's right for you. Along with diet and exercise, one pill doing two jobs for me. My doctor said Catawit's not for everyone. It's not for people with liver problems and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. To check for liver problems, you need simple blood tests. Tell your doctor about any heart problems and all other medications you are taking, or if you experience muscle pain or weakness, as they may be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. For blood pressure and cholesterol lowering benefits, it's Catawit. One pill, two medicines. Makes sense to you, makes sense to me. Ask your doctor if Catawit's right for you.
Tomorrow, the massacre at Virginia Tech.
I just can't really believe what's happened.
Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira live from the campus on Today Only on NBC.
We're back, and this tragedy here at Virginia Tech has been unfolding in real time on the internet, just as it has been here on campus, and it lit up laptops across this campus even during the second shooting, and then continued on cell phone videos posted on YouTube, on blogs, and in email. Especially social networking sites like Facebook were used by students, friends, and family to stay in touch while this was in progress and ever since, to reach out to one another. That story of this, that aspect of this story tonight from NBC's Tom Costello.
It happened in one of the most wired and wireless communities in the country.
I heard the sirens going around the drill field, and then I checked my email immediately.
I tried calling her, texting her, and there was no information.
Grabbed my cell phone, started taking the video.
From cell phone videos to urgent warnings and text messages from friends and parents thousands of miles away.
Almost my entire inbox is full of messages from other people checking to see if I was okay.
People write their messages, you know.
For engineering sophomore Matthew Zock and thousands of his fellow Virginia Tech students, their community is Facebook.
There's been about 20 or 30 people, and some I haven't talked to in years.
The social networking site where friends and families share their most personal thoughts and messages, and where hundreds of online gatherings have brought heartfelt condolences from around the world, including other universities. One page already logging more than 150,000 visitors. VTech student Michael Leonard has started his own Facebook page.
I think people are just using it to show people what they feel and express their emotions.
Like none that have come before, this university generation was born into technology. Emails, text messaging, internet chat rooms have taken on the role of community center and town square. Technology analyst Omar Wazo.
These technologies really bring people very close to each other and allow them to kind of communicate in a really profoundly intimate way, almost like love letters from, another era.
A community as large as the internet itself, offering the support only a community can muster. Tom Costello, NBC News, Blacksburg, Virginia.
And we're back with more from the campus of Virginia Tech in just a moment.
I have COPD with chronic bronchitis, which makes it hard to breathe. But now that I'm breathing better with Advair,
I can cheer my grandson to victory.
For people with COPD with chronic bronchitis, great news. Advair helps significantly improve lung function. While nothing can reverse COPD, Advair is different from other medications because it's the only product with an anti-inflammatory and a bronchodilator working together to help you breathe better. Advair won't replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be used more than twice a day. Lung infections, including pneumonia, have been reported with Advair. Taking Advair may increase your risk for osteoporosis and some eye problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking Advair, and ask about the risks and benefits of continuing Advair after 6 months.
Thanks for coming, Grandpa.
I wouldn't have missed it. Ask your doctor how Advair helps improve lung function for better breathing.
Find out how to get your first full prescription free at advaircopd.com.
We need space.
We'd like something with a little atmosphere.
At Remax.com, you can see all the listings in thousands of cities and towns. Visit Remax.com today.
I recharge when I Unisum.
I restore when I Unisum.
Unisum is clinically proven to help you fall asleep faster, sleep longer, and wake refreshed every time. To naturally
recharge,
restore,
refresh you.
For sleep that restores, Unisum.
I got something here that can help build more houses, design more decks, and help more people. Bayer Aspirin helps prevent 1 out of 3 heart attacks for people at appropriate risk. Be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen. Bayer, expect wonders.
Olay Age-Defying Body Wash fights the look of body aging with a moisturizing formula with phytoniacin. Keep time off your body with Olay Age-Defying Body Wash.
We took the Land Rover LR3 and compared it to the Hyundai Santa Fe. The Santa Fe beat the Land Rover in the 0 to 60 test and the quarter-mile test. It also beat the Land Rover on the dry slalom and the wet slalom course, as well as in dry and wet accident avoidance tests. But the Land Rover did beat the Santa Fe in number of cup holders. Well, you can't win everything. The Hyundai Santa Fe, $13,000 less than the Land Rover, and a few less cup holders. Hyundai, smart move.
The worst mass shooting in American history. NBC News is there on campus. On NBC, MSNBC, MSNBC.com, and on your mobile phone. NBC News everywhere. Massacre at Virginia Tech. NBC News, America's news leader.
Finally, in this half hour, what may be the best description of this place that we have come across in our 2 sad days here on campus. I was talking today with students and others, among all of those in line for today's service. They included sorority members who had just lost a fellow sorority sister. When I met Ray Roberts, who after 8 years as a recruiter for Virginia Tech, came back here for this because, as he put it, this wasn't supposed to happen here. What has changed for you since hearing the news yesterday?
It just, it hasn't really sunk in yet. It just hit home so close, you know. It's just, it's where I grew up, and it's America, you know. It's all of us.
Ray Roberts, just one person in a line of sad folks gathering here on campus today for the service this morning. For some of you, Nightly News will continue after this. For others, that is Nightly News for this Tuesday night from the campus of Virginia Tech.
Steve Olbermann, topical and bitingly hilarious. Hipper than the evening news.
It's a hard act. The Copy. Countdown with Keith Olbermann. Tonight, only on MSNBC.
Thursday, ER is back. And all new. With 5 new episodes in a row. All leading to one question. Will Abby say, I do?
Let's get married.
All new ER, Thursday on NBC. NBC 12 News goes all access. Podcasts now available at NBC12.com. This special edition of Nightly News continues. Here again is Brian Williams.
And we are back now tonight from the campus of Virginia Tech for what will be a second half hour in this special edition of NBC Nightly News. The death toll here remains at 33, the gunman and 32 others. And on this day two, since the campus massacre, a lot of the shock of the event turned today into anger on the part of some and sadness on the part of all. To help heal that in what will be the first of many campus-wide meetings, President Bush and the First Lady arrived today, and they spoke along with members of all the religious groups represented here on campus. All of this goes on as the investigation continues into what it was that happened here yesterday. As you may know, there is a great deal of focus tonight on some early signs that the young man, the gunman, was, in addition to being heavily armed, a very troubled young man. Among the signs, some of his own writings. Our justice correspondent, Pete Williams in Washington, continues to look into this case and his past and has another update for us tonight. Pete, good evening.
Brian, good evening. In fact, Cho Sung-wei, officials who know him and his former friends say he gave off many of those warning signs. His classmates thought his behavior was so odd that they once openly wondered whether he might get a gun and shoot up a class. He wasn't the only one with concerns based on his behavior and the writing he did for his English major studies. One of his teachers was Lucinda Roy, who said she thought he was disturbed, but that he wouldn't get counseling and there was only so much she could do. From her home in Blacksburg, Virginia, here she is in her own words.
We all need to realize in this country that we have students who are very, very troubled. And if we don't find a way of identifying them and somehow reaching out to them, then terrible things are going to happen. And so I feel this terrible sense of just great sorrow, because you only come back to that classroom. And if it could have been me instead, that would have been just great with me. And I was hoping that by taking him out of the classroom, then I'd helped maybe to avoid something that could be catastrophic. I know one or two people felt even at the time that I was making a fuss, and I am sometimes known for making a fuss, that's true. But there were things here that worried me. I've been teaching 22 years, and there have only been a couple of times when I've thought this is a really, really worrying thing, and this was one of them.
Lucinda Roy of Virginia Tech, in her own words, on a former student who became responsible for the nation's worst mass shooting. Brian?
And Pete, how many times after how many tragedies have we heard and seen the same profile, a troubled young man or woman who, the minute we scratch the surface, it turns out, left warning signs behind in their life. Pete Williams with an update from Washington tonight. Thanks. And we have an update as well this evening on the shooting victims who were wounded in all of this. For that, we go to NBC's Michelle.
Good evening, Brian. Of the more than 24 wounded and injured students who were taken to hospitals, 14 of them remain tonight, and 8 of them are here. Last night, a few were in critical condition, but today all of those here have stabilized, and a few of their parents are telling their stories of courage and survival.
It is one more violent image from a day of terror. Kevin Stern, carried out of German class, bleeding. The senior was shot twice in the leg, tearing through a major artery. But his parents say the Eagle Scout wrapped a cord around it, which may have saved his life.
He didn't really talk a lot about it. I asked him about it.
When Kevin's mother heard the news, she was shopping for party supplies for his graduation.
You could wake up tomorrow and everything could change. And that's what it felt like. The bomb just dropped.
Junior Caitlin Carney was in that same German class. She was shot in the hand.
The bullet exposed a lot of bone when it went through her hand, and they were concerned of exposure to bone and infection.
But Caitlin will not abandon her plans to be the maid of honor in her sister's wedding this Saturday.
All the guests are going to wear a white glove on their left hand, so, you know, she won't look out of place.
Freshman Hillary Strollo was shot several times and grazed in the head, today in stable condition.
Emotionally right now, she's just very grateful. Her and our entire family are very grateful.
Doctors here somehow managed it all.
It didn't seem real. It seemed
would take care of one and another one would roll in.
We just got as much yesterday as we probably had in the last 5 years.
They will face a road ahead of recovery, physically and emotionally. So will their families. But what's behind them is far worse.
Obviously, they're glad to be alive. They're so sad that some of their friends are not alive.
Some of the most seriously injured students were taken not here, but to other hospitals a little farther away that have special trauma units. Of those few tonight, one is in critical condition and another in serious condition, Brian.
Michelle Kaczynski, who is not far from here at the first level trauma center where the first patients were taken. Then there are, of course, the emotional wounds from what happened on this campus and the emotional healing, of course, that is just now beginning. NBC's Dawn Fratangelo has more on that.
Disbelief.
It's hard to even grasp and begin to understand.
Fear, anger, you can hear it all in their voices.
You come here for safety, you come here for the community, and it's kind of shattered a little bit.
The emotions of students at Virginia Tech are common and will continue to overflow, says Dr. Elizabeth Carl, a leading psychologist on violence and trauma.
Certainly the general being anxious, crying, depressed, all of these are normal events to such an abnormal, horrific situation.
Time and again, we've seen the safety shattered. Kentucky, Arkansas, Colorado, and most recently, Pennsylvania.
And then he started to shoot.
Missy Jenkins was paralyzed when a fellow student shot her 10 years ago in Paducah. When I spoke with her a few months after, she offered another emotion, forgiveness.
It's weird, but, I don't have any bad feelings towards him. I felt like I needed to forgive him.
It's not just individuals, but entire communities left wounded. The University of Iowa is still recovering from a multiple shooting in 1991. And now Virginia Tech, best known for its winning football program, has a new identity.
Since it is the entire community, it can form a wonderful support group for each other. And since everyone has this shared experience, everyone understands.
And something else that's bound to emerge, survivor's guilt. Not only for the students inside the classrooms, but for college and police officials who are being criticized about security. As young adults, these college students may be better equipped to deal with the trauma more than some of the younger victims of the past.
Still hasn't settled in with me yet, and I'm afraid for when that time comes because it will be bad.
But the key will be to talk about it, amid the fear, the disbelief, to keep talking. Dawn Fratangelo, NBC News, New York.
And back here with us on campus tonight, Amy Steele, the editor-in-chief of the college newspaper who you just saw in Dawn's setup report. Also with us tonight is Samit Bagai, who is student body president here. And Samit, we'll begin with you perhaps. I keep asking when I talk to people on the telephone back in New York from here, how are they going to begin to get their arms around this as a student body here at Virginia Tech? Do you want to begin to try to answer that question?
Well, one thing that we're fortunate to have at Virginia Tech, and that's a strong sense of community from the students up through the faculty and staff. We have an organization we call Hokies United here at Virginia Tech, and any major tragedy that's happened, 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, groups of student leaders have come together because they want to make a difference and they want to make things easier on the community. This go around is no different. We have record numbers of student volunteers that want to help make a difference, and it's through their efforts that we're hosting a vigil tonight on the drill field at 8 p.m. And I think it's students coming together. That's the first step in us moving forward and getting past this.
Amy, you and I spoke yesterday. I frankly was amazed at how together you were in the middle of this crisis. I noticed you got a paper out today.
Yeah.
How are you doing on this day, too?
It's a lot more calm today than yesterday. It was very frantic. We had reporters everywhere. We were just trying to keep in track of each other via cell phone. Today we're back in our office, so we have a home base, which has been a lot easier to deal with. We had an early morning this morning. We sent the paper out at 6. It was on campus by 9. And so we've just been going at it all day, trying to get updates and updating our website as much as possible.
Samit, there's that expression that comes from the name of a play, 6 Degrees of Separation. But here I found 26,000 people. It's never 6. It's never that many. It's 1 or 2. And so you must have personal ties to this tragedy.
And that's what makes this tough. I feel like, I've talked to my family back home that have been, watching the coverage, and it's tough for them. But for students here, I was talking to 2 of my friends, and between us, we knew 5 or 6 of the individuals. And I think that goes to show how close our community is. As a result, when something like this happened, it's hit us all very hard, but I am confident that we'll work together and help each other move through this, because that's just the kind of group we are.
Amy, the saddest part of that service today for me was the college cheer at the end, because oddly it was the happiest part of the service. Do you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach that almost a wave of sadness is coming? You know it intellectually, but you can't feel it yet?
Yeah, I do feel that's how it was. I think yesterday the campus was still in shock. I don't think that it really hit home to anyone, and I think waking up this morning and still having everyone on campus and still hearing this out of all the media outlets across the world, I think it is starting to hit students, and I think sadness is starting to hit campus. I think the mood on campus is very somber. It's basically a ghost town right now. It's starting to pick up a little bit after the event this afternoon and then the vigil again tonight, but I would describe the campus is just sad.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of kids with luggage heading home with their parents to take advantage of the suspension in classes. Samit, I don't know how you're functioning. Amy, I don't know how you got a paper out today, but my congratulations and our condolences as well to both of you. We know you're dealing with a lot. Thanks to our two guests tonight. We're going to take another break from here at Virginia Tech. Nightly News will continue in just a moment.
Tonight, massacre at Virginia Tech. Hear what victims and families have to say about the tragedy. Dateline tonight, 8/7 Central on NBC.
Get rolling with Comcast Digital Cable. Just $33 a month for 12 months when you subscribe to Comcast high-speed internet and digital voice. Get all your cable favorites and thousands of free on-demand shows. Call 1-888-COMCAST.
Road and Track invited 400 car enthusiasts in California to compare the all-wheel drive Ford Fusion to Camry and Accord.
The thing that got me the most about the Fusion was the power.
I like the way it looks, too. It's real sporty.
Again, on performance, handling, and styling, Fusion wins. And it's a leader in total quality. See for yourself. Take the Ford Challenge. Now just sign and drive off with 0 down, 0 first month's payment, and 0 due at signing. Lease a Ford Fusion for just $249 a month, but only for a limited time. Visit a Ford dealer or go to FordChallenge.com.
Introducing O'Charlie's Fresh Flavors. With 7 all-new handcrafted creations, like our herb-crusted center-cut sirloin, simply succulent bistro chicken, and our delicious baked shrimp scampi pasta. O'Charlie's Fresh Flavors, hand-selected, perfectly prepared, simply delicious. Now for a limited time.
The 2007 Chevy Impala gets an EPA estimated 31 miles per gallon highway, and it's backed by the GM 100,000-mile warranty. Qualified lessees can get a low-mileage lease on this 07 Impala LT for around $199 a month. Residency restrictions apply. Call for details. See your local Chevy dealer.
Get rolling with Comcast Digital Cable. Just $33 a month for 12 months when you subscribe to Comcast high-speed internet and digital voice. Get all your cable favorites and thousands of free on-demand shows. Call 1-888-COMCAST.
Back from Virginia Tech, in the distance and all over the property of this sprawling campus, there are television satellite news trucks and journalists from all over the world. When you walk past them, you hear accents in German, South African, and now Korean broadcasters are starting to arrive, given the gunman in this case. And they're all reporting home on a dangerous incident in a dangerous country, as some of them have portrayed it. For that perspective on this story tonight, here is NBC's Ron Mott.
Details are emerging rapidly this lunchtime about the massacre in Virginia.
Around the world, the killings reverberated in many languages, from Arabic to German, expressing the same sentiments, the sadness, the horror, on front pages from Austria to Colombia. On South Korean television tonight, there was shock upon learning the shooter was native-born and worries of a backlash against Koreans in the United States.
We Korean people and the Korean government would like to express our heartfelt condolences. Absolute and profound shock.
For Britain's top crime fighter, it's more personal. He's a Virginia Tech graduate.
To see the same campus yesterday shrouded in such tragedy and murder is just almost beyond belief and beyond words.
But others in Britain didn't mince words about guns in the U.S.
Shows you what lax gun laws can do.
It sounds as if it happens all the time in America.
The UK took strong anti-gun measures following the 1996 school shooting in Dunblane, Scotland, that left 16 children and an adult dead. Britain outlawed handguns, and anyone caught with one faces a minimum prison sentence of 5 years. They are so opposed to guns here that not even police officers on routine patrol carry them. Now, gun violence is rare. In Australia a decade ago, automatic weapons and handguns were banned after a man killed 35 people in Port Arthur. Prime Minister John Howard today.
We took action to limit the availability of guns, and we showed a national resolve that the gun culture that is such a negative in the United States would never become a negative in our country.
Mostly, though, they felt America's pain, seen and heard at Virginia Tech's partner university in Germany.
It's dramatic, and it kind of shocks everybody.
Throughout the world, it all translated the same way. Ron Mott, NBC News, London.
We're back in a moment with another story from today's news. We'll also talk to some of the reporters covering this story when we continue.
Tomorrow, the massacre at Virginia Tech.
I just can't really believe what's happened.
Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira live from the campus on Today Only on NBC.
Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana.
Humble, even in victory. Introducing the North American Car of the Year, the all-new Saturn Aura Sports Sedan. Now lease an Aura XE, starting at around $219 a month. Call for lease details. For generations, there's been only one pasta. Muller's makes meals to remember.
Everybody wants the new LG from Alta Wireless. Get yours today.
What does it take to do this? 210 horsepower, standard ESP, all-speed traction control.
I'll take two.
This is my last one.
Thank you.
And a whole bunch of that blue stuff. Jeep Liberty and the all-new Jeep Compass, two in the growing line of Jeep vehicles.
How's business? Good.
Now, get $4,500 cash allowance on Jeep Liberty Limited. Discover the greatest Jeep lineup ever.
Virginia Tech, it's easy to lose in the crush of bad news. We've been covering that this is tax day, and it turns out that this year, tax filing among immigrants in this country who are in this country illegally are way up, despite recent crackdowns on illegal immigrants around the country. As NBC's Mark Potter tells us, there is a reason for it.
In Queens, New York, tax day, and Laura Medell, an illegal immigrant from Mexico, is filing his first U.S. tax return.
How many months did you work this year?
Around the country, more and more illegal immigrants, several million of them, are filling out tax forms. Among them, this woman in South Florida.
I want to follow the laws of the country.
Some are required to pay hundreds, even thousands of dollars in taxes.
Even though most people do believe it's painful to pay that much money, they bite the bullet, they do it, and they follow the law.
Many immigrants say they do this to earn U.S. citizenship, with immigration reform proposals requiring tax payments more illegals are complying in advance.
In case of amnesty, in case of that any of the immigration reform bills come through, they desperately want to be prepared for that.
The IRS has special forms and tax numbers to help the illegal immigrants pay up.
If you make money in the United States, you have to pay taxes on it, whether or not you're a citizen.
The IRS argues that by encouraging illegal workers from agriculture and other industries to file returns, it brings them into the tax system, along with billions of dollars for the U.S. Treasury. Citing privacy rules, the IRS rarely gives information to immigration officials, which rankles those who favor immigration controls.
What the IRS is doing is helping undermine the future effectiveness of enforcement by mixing the message.
At tax time, an irony. Illegal workers violating immigration laws, but following the tax code carefully. Mark Potter, NBC News, Homestead, Florida.
And when we come back, more from the campus of Virginia Tech. We'll hear from the campus community and some of the reporters covering this story.
Keith Olbermann, topical and bitingly hilarious. Hipper than the evening news.
It's a hard act to copy. Countdown with Keith Olbermann, tonight, only on MSNBC.
Every day you see more and more Mazdas with the Whitten brothers name on the back. Why? The Whitten Advantage. Tires as long as you own the car. Oil filter changes for 3 years. Loaner car with every service and the best price. 07 Mazda 3. Buy one now for just $13,863. 07 Mazda B2300 pickup. Loaded. Now just $12,495. Whitten Brothers Mazda is Central Virginia's #1 Mazda dealer. So come take a test drive, where the best deals are still written by Whitten.
Costin Floors helps more homeowners select and install new floors than any other company in Richmond. How do we do it? By providing a wide range of quality, stylish flooring choices, knowledgeable consultants to help plan each project, and experienced installers who create beautiful, finished floors. Oh, and our fleet of vans doesn't hurt either. For quality at every step, count on the family at Costin Floors.
We are back as promised with two of our NBC News correspondents who have been covering this story, and they literally came at it from two markedly different angles. Kevin Cork and Mike Taibbi. Kevin, beginning with you, we've been saying you were the first NBC News correspondent to arrive here. What did getting here early mean that you saw?
I saw two things that really stood out to me, Brian. When I got here, usually you expect sort of a very friendly nature. People say hello, they wave. You didn't get that. When I walked in and I walked all the way from my car across campus, absolute silence, and that will stick with me. The other thing I noticed was today, a sense of wanting to heal, and yet not being able to quite grasp that just yet.
Mike, you were last on Nightly News, somewhat incredibly, from Baghdad Friday night. You've been following the progress of the 3rd Infantry. Having made that trip, it's always a little trick on your head to re-enter into American society. Here you are, just back, and we sent you here.
It is tricky. Usually you'd like a day to decompress, and then this story broke. When I went to sleep, I hadn't had much sleep when I got back. I saw the ticker on the MSNBC that said 2 dead. That was early in the day. I took about a half-hour nap, got a call from my bureau chief saying go, because it's now over 20 dead, and it's getting bigger. So I got here. The contrast to the two is that in both cases there are deaths in large numbers on a scale that's inexplicable. But there in Iraq, everybody expects it at this point. Here, it was totally innocent people, totally unexpected, so that the process of getting through all the steps of grieving to the acceptance stage is much harder here, and I saw students and heard students struggling with that today.
A few seconds left. Kevin, how do you think they're doing at that? All of these tragedies are different. This place has, of course, its own feel.
I think whenever you go into small towns, especially close-knit communities like this, Brian, they coalesce quickly. They heal together, but I believe the process will likely be very slow.
Well, I want to thank you guys both for joining us tonight, and now we all head back to covering this story that brings us to this very, very sad place, the campus of Virginia Tech. As we've been saying, there is pain tonight everywhere in this college community, not only on the official confines of this campus, but in this tight-knit town Kevin was just talking about. NBC's Bob Fall reports on that tonight with the mourning and healing on Main Street.
Today, we mourn, said this tight-knit community. On Main Street in Blacksburg, Hokey Hair, a play on the school's nickname, lost 2 of its customers in yesterday's rampage. Today, the staff here made Hokie-colored ribbons as therapy.
There's no way you really can deal with this.
Demand for flowers was so great, the local florist quickly ran out of school colors. At the campus emporium, orange and maroon garb was snapped up in reverence, said Blacksburg resident Brenda Sternfeld.
I think it stays with you and becomes a part of who you are.
There was even a makeshift memorial, white candles for all the dead, save the gunman, red for the injured, erected by a local resident, Jose Torres.
How could somebody do this? And I think it's just we're all looking for answers.
So throughout the day here, through the tears and the hugs, they tried to find comfort.
It's part of the grieving process, just what you have to do.
But as much as Main Street mourns, here there is also a measure of defiance.
Like others, Florist Sherry Wyatt says the killings will not change who she is.
That doesn't mean that Blacksburg has changed. I still feel, just as safe.
And on the night of the carnage, this student haunt decided to stay open. Its proceeds to be donated to the victims.
They were here together for each other. That's how you get past it.
Together, they say, in shock and pain.
I feel like everyone on this campus is a casualty.
So today, an honor guard of student cadets paid silent tribute. As a hastily scrawled message outside read, "May God help us all." Bob Fall, NBC News, Blacksburg, Virginia.
It is indeed such a sad place tonight because this community, Virginia Tech, is every inch a part of that larger community. And that'll do it for this Tuesday night broadcast. A reminder, a special, an hour-long special airing on the NBC television network tonight. It's a special edition of Dateline. That's at 8 o'clock, 7 Central Time. With that, thank you for being with us for this special edition of Nightly News. I'm Brian Williams, reporting tonight from the campus of Virginia Tech. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Good night.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.